Research and recording of Canadian Creepies happens on the shared land and traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. A key treaty governing this territory is the Dish with One Spoon Agreement. The treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee people binds them to share and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, settlers, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. We all share the responsibility of ensuring the dish is never empty, meaning we must take care of the land and the creatures we share it with.
Hey creeps, and welcome back to Canadian Creepies, where the maple syrup is sweet, but the stories are dark.
Real dark. Like small town secrets and shadowy slasher vibes. Dark. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Valerie. And before we dive into today's truly unsettling case, we've got a few quick updates. The first being that we have Kyle here again.
Yeah, it's me. It's me.
We're happy about it.
That's good.
We just went and saw the Minecraft movie. It was really good.
We did. It was good.
And it's our cat's birthday.
That's right. Say something about it, Richard. Say something.
Let the record show Richard is nuzzling the mic. Okay, so a few updates. I do firstly want to say thank you to my manager, Dina, for suggesting this case. I actually couldn't remember who suggested this case until I started getting into it. And then I was like, oh, it was Dina. And I'll explain why when we get there. Also, we are going to be having a new segment, but it's, what do we call it? Is it a segment? Is it a new... I don't think it's a segment. It's more...
Because it's not going to take place in the podcast in your podcast every week. Is that right?
Yes, it's not going to be... It's its own episodes.
But so we're adding... like a sister podcast.
Yes, it's like a sister podcast, but we're also adding on Canadian... I have commissioned... Okay.
There's a couple things.
Okay, so Down the Crooked Path is hosted by my friend... Amanda Joy, and you can follow her on Instagram and TikTok at Down the Crooked Path. Now, Amanda's going to be covering all things odd, spooky, weird, paranormal, all the things encompassing and not exclusive to Canadian content. Her episodes will also be coming out on Thursdays starting May 1st. Now, in addition to that, because I saw Amanda has been a friend of mine for some time. Because I saw she was doing this, I said, hey, why don't you make some of that content exclusively Canadian and I'll give you your own day. So Amanda's Down the Crooked Path will be starting May 6th, I think, the first Tuesday in May. So that's right. In May, starting in May, you will be getting Canadian Creepies episodes twice a week.
Can confirm it is May 6th.
Thank you. Tuesdays from Amanda and Thursdays from us. And maybe sometimes we'll do some crossover stuff.
Woo!
Woohoo! But here is a little sneak peek of Down the Crooked Path.
Ooh.
Welcome to Canadian Creepies, where we step into the shadows of Canada's most spine-chilling and intriguing tales. This is the show where true crime, mysteries, and the paranormal collide, bringing you the kind of stories that send shivers down your spine. I am Amanda Joy, and I couldn't be more excited to join this incredible podcast, thanks to my longtime friend Val and her co-host Allie. Together, they've built something truly special here, and I'm thrilled to now have a segment where I can share some of Canada's most hair-raising paranormal tales with you. For those of you who don't know me, I run the Down the Crooked Path socials, a space where I explore the eerie, the unexplained, and the downright bizarre. It's where we divulge into the darker corridors of history and folklore, uncovering the mysteries that lurk just out of sight And now I'm bringing that passion here to Canadian Creepies. My focus will be on the paranormal side of things. Ghostly hauntings, sinister curses, cryptid encounters, and everything that whispers of the supernatural within Canada's borders. Canada is home to countless chilling stories, from abandoned asylums to haunted forests, and from spectral sightings to tales of otherworldly phenomenon. There is no shortage of eerie events to explore. So grab a cozy blanket, dim the lights, and join me as we journey through the paranormal side of Canada's history. There's so much to uncover, stories that will leave you questioning what's real and what's imagined. Together, let's step off the beaten path and venture into the shadows of the unknown. Are you ready?
So that was Amanda.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right? I'm very excited for Tuesdays. So mark it in your calendars, do whatever you have to do, or just, follow us, and then you'll get notified.
Woo. All right. So today's episode is not for the faint of heart. We're heading into the chilling world of Christian Magee.
Christian Magee.
Christian Magee.
That's your first time saying that name.
Yes. Better known as the Mad Slasher.
In the late 1970s, Ontario was gripped with fear after a series of brutal attacks and murders that left 3 women dead and others assaulted. Behind it all was a man whose violent fantasies blurred the lines between madness and monstrous intent.
In this episode, we're going to explore who Christian Magee was.
You just keep getting those to say his name.
What? I said it right, though, right?
Yeah.
That time?
Yeah.
It's just... It sounds like a name I would riff. That's all, like if I was
the name's Christian Magee.
Names, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, was the we're going to explore who Christian Magee was, the crimes he committed, the controversial not criminally responsible verdict. Interesting. And what happened after he was sent to a psychiatric hospital instead of a prison.
We'll also take a closer look at how Canada's legal system handles cases involving mental illness and extreme violence, and what this case reveals about the cracks in the system.
But first, we want to give a strong content warning.
That's right. This episode includes detailed discussions of sexual violence, graphic murder descriptions, and mental illness. Listener discretion is strongly advised, especially for those sensitive to those themes.
All right. If you're ready, grab your headphones, dim the lights, and follow us down the crooked path.
To the shadows of small town Ontario and the chilling case of the Mad Slasher.
Nice.
I like how there was a callback to Down the Crooked Path.
Yeah, that's fun.
And now you guys know when we say that, it's like
a reference.
It's like advertising.
Little,
it's like subliminal.
Yeah. Synergy happening.
All right, let's talk
before
about
your ears.
That's right. Let's talk about the towns and the times.
Okay, towns and the times.
I'll start reading, and then
TTs.
You're gonna probably read something too.
Hey, I've been known to.
In the 1970s, southwestern Ontario was largely characterized by quiet rural communities and growing but modestly populated urban centers. Towns like Strathroy. Strathroy is how I knew Dina suggested this one, because on our on Valentine's, I work at a flower shop, and on Valentine's I made flower shop bingo, and one of the bingos was Dina mentioned Strathroy. That's how often she mentions it. So towns like Strathroy and Mount Bridges offered a picture of stability and safety. These communities were home to working class families, many of whom were employed in local manufacturing, agriculture, and small businesses. Life here was often generational. Families knew each other, and crime was relatively rare. This sense of security was deeply woven into the fabric of daily life, making violent crime all the more shocking when it did occur. Strathroy was known for its manufacturing base, particularly furniture production, and for its strong agricultural roots.
It's hard to say.
It is. The pace of life was slow, and people typically left their doors unlocked. And Mount Bridges was and still is a small village just outside of London with a population of around 1,200 in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Which is a cute little town. It
Just
had an
little.
even his widow, yeah.
Just widow.
It had an even stronger small town identity where everyone knew each other and violent crime was virtually unheard of. However, there was like Little Strathroy, Little Mount Bridges, and then there's London, the urban hub with a dark secret. London stood out, not London, England, London, Ontario.
Yeah.
London stood out among these towns as the larger urban center, an evolving city with a university, expanding suburbs, and growing infrastructure. But in contrast to its clean-cut image, the city harbored a disturbing and underreported reality. Between 1959 and 1984, London experienced an abnormal concentration of serial killings.
Oh my God.
At one point, it was home to as many as 6 active serial killers at the same time.
Wow.
This grim period in London's history was extensively studied by author Michael Arntfield, a former police officer and criminology professor who identified it as the serial killer capital of the world. Yikes, London.
Yeah,
Yikes.
it's pretty dense. What are the conditions like there?
In that
they're
time.
just breeding serial killers.
Yes. The city saw a string of murders, predominantly of women and children, that suggested the presence of multiple serial offenders operating in close proximity and with disturbing frequency.
Yeah. It's like pick a new demographic to murder.
Right. And it's always women and children.
Yeah.
And the men are like, we have it so hard.
Yeah.
The factors behind this chilling phenomenon are debated, but likely include a lack of coordination between police jurisdictions, always. Underdeveloped forensic science and profiling methods, because it was the 60s through the 80s. Social and psychological factors related to repression and small-town anonymity, and poor record keeping and an unwillingness at the time to acknowledge patterns of violence, particularly those targeting vulnerable populations. Can we just acknowledge some people are more likely to get targeted than others? That's
yeah.
right.
It's just
a fact. And
It's
if
a
we
fact.
acknowledge
It's
it and
just-
protect the people who are more likely to get targeted, they're less likely to
it just
die.
can't hurt to do those to be more
Just
protective.
err on the side of caution. It's like,
And-
hey, if this is happening, let's keep them safe.
And we don't
Instead
need
of,
to-
we'll deal with it after one of them dies.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't have to like argue about that. About the just like, why don't we just do it? Why don't
Just
we
in case.
we just have stats.
Just in
let's
case.
let's just bulk up because of the stats.
Let's just keep the women and children safe.
Why not? Fancy that.
That's right. This context is vital to understanding the environment. Oh, the context of London at the time is vital to understanding the environment that Christian Magee committed his crimes in.
Old Christian Magee.
The old Christian Magee. While communities like Strathroy and Mount Bridges still held on to an idealized version of rural safety, London's quiet streets were slowly becoming a hunting ground, though the scale of problem wouldn't be fully recognized until decades later. And there was also a rising fear of violence because of all of this. So by the late 1970s, the illusion of safety in southwestern Ontario began to erode. Media coverage of violent crimes became more prominent, and residents started to realize that the dangers they associated with big cities were seeping into their own backyards.
Yeah.
The arrest and institutionalization of Christian Magee would only intensify these fears, as it added another name to the list of predators operating in what were once seen as peaceful, insulated communities.
Yeah. Sad.
Sad.
Scary.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine just like you're in your small town doing your day to day,
You're chilling. You're going to work at your furniture factory.
or the grocery,
Going to get your groceries.
convenience store, liquor store combo.
All 3 in 1, you think?
And then I've seen them. I seen it. And then all of a sudden, now there's serial killers happening just around.
My aunt was telling me she can remember having to go to the liquor store with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Were you there when she was telling me this? Either way, the listeners weren't there, so I'll tell them.
No, I was there with her grandpa and you and your grandpa.
What?
I don't know.
Okay. No, and she remembers
I wasn't there.
like grandpa buying the alcohol, but like it was something about he had to sign a book and no women were allowed to buy alcohol.
No women were allowed to buy alcohol?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't remember why.
Valerie just smacked my foot away from
because you kept pulling on my
with her
pants.
pants with my foot. She didn't like it.
I didn't.
She smacked my foot away.
Now I need to Google that.
Were women not allowed to buy liquor?
In Ontario, women were legally allowed to purchase alcohol alongside men in 1976.
As late as
Yeah, prior to this, there were restrictions on where and how women could buy alcohol, including separate men's and women's only rooms in some establishments.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, that's fucked.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's crazy that's the 70s.
That was just the 70s. Like, that's not that long ago. Not that long ago. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about the victims. And then you will do the next one.
Oh, okay, yes. I'll tap in at any point if you want.
Okay, yeah, you will do the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk about his victims. So Christian Magee's first known victim was Judith Barksey, and she was 19. Details about her personal life remain limited, but her untimely death marked the beginning of a terrifying period for the local communities. Magee's modus operandi involved either being acquainted with his victims or picking them up while hitchhiking. His attacks were characterized by sexual assault, followed by stabbing, strangulation, and mutilation.
Oof.
So yeah, because we're going to find a little bit with this episode because it happened in the 70s. There's not a lot of forensic stuff available, and there's not a lot of like firsthand accounts available. And there's not a lot of specifics to stuff because it was the 70s. And I imagine we have a different form of record keeping now than we did then. So there's just like not as much information as I would like to be available, I suppose, but we have an episode and we're here. Patricia Jenner was his next.
That's okay. It's fun.
It's just sometimes I'm more in depth with like, I'm like her. I can speak more to the families and friends of the victims,
Yeah,
and I can give more time to the victims, but I don't have that information with this episode. I don't want anybody to think I'm just like don't care about these victims. It's just sometimes.
It was the 70s.
It was the 70s. Sometimes the information's just not there. Patricia Jenner, or the information that's publicly available to me. I'm not a private investigator. I'm a simple girl with Google and ChatGPT.
That's right.
I'm a simple lady.
Simple lady.
Patricia Jenner was another young woman whose life was tragically cut short by Magee. While specific details about her background are scarce, her murder followed a similar pattern of sexual assault and lethal violence. These crimes shocked the community and highlighted the escalating danger posed by the perpetrator. Susan Scholes was Scholes or Scholes. It's Scholes. She was the third confirmed murder victim of Magee. Her death mirrored the brutality of the previous killings, involving sexual assault and fatal injuries. The loss of these women deeply affected their families and underscored the urgent need for justice. Also, I imagine there's not a lot of details because when it comes to reporting, like they probably just wrote like sexual assault. If they wrote that, they probably wrote like rape. If they wrote that even.
Right.
If they wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to the 3 murders, Magee was responsible for at least 2 other sexual assaults. These attacks further demonstrated his predatory behavior and the threat he posed to women in the region. The assaults were part of the broader pattern of violence that terrorized the communities of Strathroy and Mount Bridges during the mid-1970s. The series of violent crimes committed by Magee instilled fear and anxiety among residents of southwestern Ontario. The brutality of the attacks and the apparent randomness of the victims led to widespread concern for personal safety. Media coverage at the time highlighted the severity of the situation, and the moniker Mad Slasher became synonymous with the terror that gripped the region. The community's sense of security was shattered, and the demand for swift justice intensified as authorities worked to apprehend the predator. Kyle's going to read the info I have on Christian Magee's background. And his psychological profile
Oh my goodness.
when
hold
he's
on.
done hugging the dog.
Oh, Daisy. Yo,
Yeah.
what is it? Oh my god, why are you so excited all of a sudden? She just jumped up. She just got so heckin' excited. Yes, I love you so much. Okay, okay. Mwah. Okay. There you go, baby.
And you can check out our Instagram to see a picture of Daisy. I have lots of pictures of Daisy
She's
there.
going crazy. She's got real excited. Okay. Childhood and early life. Christian Herbert Magee.
Oh my God, what a name!
I mean, come on.
They really named him with that one.
They just like.
They gave him a name. They made some choices and they stuck to him.
Yeah. They just rolled the
It's
dice
crazy.
on this
It's
one.
Magee and not Mickey.
Yeah, exactly.
Magee.
Magee.
It's like a
Yeah.
sloppy. It's like the sloppy Irish.
Yeah. It's gone through.
Too drunk to write the C. And
Yes.
that's no offense intended.
Just to all Irish people. That's
Yeah,
all.
I don't intend offense. But I won't drink on your holiday.
Listen, it's late at night, guys. It's really late. Take two. Christian Herbert Magee was born in 1948 in Ontario, Canada. He endured a tumultuous upbringing marked by an abusive father, which contributed to a troubled childhood. Magee dropped out of high school and developed a drinking problem early in life.
I can see because he had an abusive father.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Okay. His criminal behavior began at the age of 10,
This is why people should be good fathers. Continue.
indicating early signs of delinquency.
Oh, because he started at age 10?
That's right.
Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah.
so young.
That's your son's age.
Right?
Imagine that. Mental health and personality traits. Magee's early exposure to abuse and subsequent behavioral issues suggested underlying mental health challenges. His actions later in life, including violent crimes, point to possible personality disorders. Though specific diagnoses are not publicly documented, his criminal activities reflect traits often associated with antisocial behavior, such as lack of empathy and disregard for societal norms. Sorry, Valerie was pointing at the screen
Thinking something was going to happen and it didn't.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Continue.
It's okay. I muted the thinger. Early warning signs and criminal fantasies.
Oh.
Magee's criminal behavior escalated over time, culminating in a series of violent offenses between 1974 and 1976. While specific details about his fantasies are not extensively documented, the nature of his crimes, characterized by sexual assault, stabbing, strangulation, and mutilation, indicates a deeply disturbed individual with violent tendencies.
Yeah, so I'd say his abusive father was definitely the start of all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of things probably aren't documented. Like, I bet likely in these cases there is, as we know, the triad. There is bedwetting and hurting or killing small animals. And with abuse, those things, that's the triad of serial killers.
Bedwetting,
Hurting or killing small animals,
and abuse.
If all those three things, but so
Oh my
like
God.
the thing, but I imagine just psychologically, I imagine you can have bedwetting without abuse, but you probably can't have abuse without bedwetting at some point. You ever thought about that?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's not that cut and dry.
You're right. 100%.
It's probably not like once the three.
No, but I was trying to.
crystals have united
My
of
mind was
abuse,
moving faster
bedwetting.
than my mind was moving faster than my
No,
mouth
it's
with
okay.
that.
We're recognizing patterns.
Yeah, but anyway,
you're making
that's
it-
like if you have all three.
Yeah.
Like almost all serial killers have done all three. Have had all three of these traits. They've injured small animals, had bedwetting into like older ages.
Yeah.
Because bedwetting, what I was trying to say is bedwetting is also like a common side effect like
Of abuse?
of sexual abuse
Oh.
and
Interesting.
regular abuse, and I think just abuse in general.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. It just is.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then is killing small animals an abuse thing?
No. Maybe, because it's like, it could be like the pecking order, right? If somebody's being hurt, they always want someone to take it out on.
I'm asking like you have a degree in this or something, but I mean...
I don't. I've studied un petit peu.
Un petit peu. But it makes sense. It makes sense that those things would kind of go.
Yes.
I didn't know that that's the triangle. Interesting.
Yes. Then that I did learn in school.
Venn diagram into serial killer.
It's just like, it's called the serial killer triad, I think.
Oh my God. Didn't that see? It's
yes,
crazy.
That's why I'm saying it. You think I was just making up that term?
No.
Oh, okay.
I knew that it was coming from somewhere, but but it's just
I learned that in like grade 11.
It's just wild.
Grade 11 law.
Like it's like, okay, abuse, yes. Killing small animals, definitely. Wetting the bed.
Yeah.
I mean, that means I feel like most people are like a third of the way there. I'm trying to make myself feel better for wetting the bed as a child.
No, I wet the bed as a child too. It's not. No, it's.
I'm not a serial killer.
It's beyond when it's developmentally appropriate.
Oh.
And consistently.
So
it's like if you were wetting the bed every night for years.
Say until you're 23. 28.
Well, you didn't kill any animals, so.
No.
No. Please continue.
Is it okay if I'm still wetting the bed at 30 years old?
I can say that you're not.
Well, that's what
we do use different blankets, though. It's
You
called
sleep.
the Scandinavian
Sleep method.
Scandinavian sleep method. Look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up. Back to Christian
Identification
Herbert Magee.
Back to Herbert Magee. Oh, CHM. Magee's reign of terror ended in June 1976 when he was apprehended by law enforcement.
Oh my goodness.
Investigators linked him to the crimes through a combination of eyewitness accounts, forensic evidence, and patterns in the modus operandi of the attacks. Cool.
Typical for 70s police work.
Yeah. It looks like he's doing this all the time. Bad. It was bad acting. Don't worry about it. His arrest brought relief to the communities of Strathroy and Mount Bridges, which had been gripped by fear during his crime spree. Yes. On to you.
They had been gripped by fear in his crime spree. Hey creeps, it's Valerie here, and if you're anything like us, you love capturing a moment, whether it's spooky, sweet, or somewhere delightfully in between. Let me introduce you our go-to for stunning shots, darkroom photography, based right here in the heart of the Niagara region. Mel, the brilliant eye behind the lens, is a style and creative photographer who brings a bit of magic and maybe even a touch of mystery to every session. She's got all her prices listed right on her website. Super transparent, no tricks. And she runs killer seasonal specials around Mother's Day, Halloween, Christmas, and more. I'm telling you, her Halloween sessions, creepy perfection. So, if you're in Niagara and looking to capture memories that are hauntingly beautiful, hit up Mel at mel@darkroomphotography.ca or check out her work at www.darkroomphotography.ca. That's Darkroom Photography, where your memories come to life, even in the dark. You. Yeah, you. Still haunting the same old fast fashion? Time to dig up something better with Back from the Dead Goods, a Canadian small business where forgotten threads get a second life and sustainability meets spooky. This isn't just upcycled clothing. It's resurrected fashion with an eerie edge. Handpicked, reworked, and revived, every piece is as unique as a ghost story whispered at midnight. And because you're a part of the Canadian Creepies family, you get an exclusive deal. Use code Canadian Creepies at checkout for 10% off. Find them lurking on Instagram, Etsy, and Poshmark. Links are in the episode description. Give your wardrobe a second chance at life, if you dare. Let's get into the... Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
Let's get into the trial and insanity verdict.
Well, okay.
Because as you just said, he was arrested.
Yeah.
On all that evidence. And in 1977, he had a trial. And he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. I got nothing. It was the 70s. I also heard about this rape case one time in the 70s, and this is something that really like activated me. I heard it. I couldn't even tell you. It's always been a story. It's like a story I've known since I was maybe like young enough to comprehend what it meant. And I heard about a trial or a case in the 70s where it was a rape case, and the judge said, well, why did you rape her? And he was like, Your Honor, I saw her and I just had to have her. And the judge was like, not guilty.
What?
Yeah. So
wait, what was this that you saw?
it was a case that happened. I read about it at some point in my life. It's just something I've always known about.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's the 70s, so I'm not surprised he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. The judges were not good, the lawyers were not good, the criminal justice system was not good, nothing was good. In 1977, Magee stood trial for the brutal murders and sexual assaults committed between 1974 and 1976. The court found him not guilty by reason of insanity, acknowledging that he was suffering from a severe mental disorder at the time of his offenses. This verdict meant that Magee was not held criminally responsible, but was instead subjected to psychiatric treatment.
Yeah.
Comprehensive psychiatric assessments diagnosed Magee with sexual sadism, which is a psychosexual disorder characterized by deriving pleasure from inflicting pain and suffering on others. This diagnosis provided insight into the motivations behind his violent actions and underscored the necessity for specialized psychiatric intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess we do need that.
Yeah. I mean, fair. But he's also guilty.
So guilty. So guilty.
You know, he's insane.
I
Also.
feel like, yeah, that's, without knowing more, I mean, it's really hard because case was so long ago, it's really hard to like collect the ins and out and make a really, I can't say that he wasn't insane. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me look at a picture of him.
That'll tell you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's not enough just info surrounding the case to like really...
Oh, he looks kind of creepy.
The serial killer?
Yeah. Doesn't he? You guys will see when I post the picture to Instagram. He's got the look. Baby. So there was a lot of public backlash and controversy over this verdict. The verdict sparked significant public outrage. Many in the community felt that justice had not been served, as Magee was not imprisoned, but instead placed in a psychiatric facility. The nature of his crimes and the subsequent legal outcome led to widespread debate about the intersection of mental health and criminal responsibility, which is a very tough conversation. Mm-hmm. It's a very tough conversation. I want to say, from what I know about this case right now, I'm going to go ahead and say that Christian Magee wasn't schizophrenic, because the thing is with sexual sadism, that is a mental disorder, but it's not like schizophrenia where you're hallucinating. Sexual sadism, that's like a desire. It's a psychosexual disorder, yes.
Right.
But if you have a psychosexual disorder, are you responsible for that? I don't know. It's a really tough call.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because was that caused from the abuse to from his father?
Yeah.
Oh, tough conversation.
It is a tough conversation.
He was eventually placed at Penetanguishene, the Penetanguishene Mental Health Center.
Okay.
Following the trial, Magee was committed to the Oak Ridge Division of the Penetanguishene Mental Health Center, a maximum security psychiatric hospital in Ontario. Did I talk about this in an episode? I think I did. This facility was designated for individuals deemed not criminally responsible due to mental disorders.
Wow.
Magee's placement aimed to provide intensive psychiatric treatment while ensuring public safety. What I was trying to say, just came back to me. Having schizophrenia can impact your ability to, your day-to-day ability to function within society. You know, you can't drive a car, you can't hold down a job. I don't want to discredit a psychosexual disorder. I don't want to invalidate any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But does sexual sadism inhibit your ability to function as much as schizophrenia would? No.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
You still have the ability to sort of make choices.
That's right. You don't have voices trying to trick you.
Yeah.
Your own brain isn't trying to trick you with sexual sadism.
Yeah.
Whew. So that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I don't know how to weigh in on that.
It's a tough case. Magee's case remains a poignant example of the complexities involved when addressing severe mental illness with the criminal justice system. It highlights the challenges of balancing public safety, legal responsibility, and the need for appropriate psychiatric care. Agreed. But also earlier you had said we don't know enough about his diagnosis, so maybe we're also only getting like the sexual sadism diagnosis of it was available to us, like that information is available to us, and there's parts I don't know as well. So don't ever take my word as the Bible, please.
Which we don't believe in.
Which we don't. Yeah, we respect it.
Respect.
We respect.
Absolutely.
Respect.
And anyone can believe.
Anyone can believe. Canada's approach to handling individuals found not criminally responsible due to mental disorders has evolved over time, balancing the need for public safety with the rights and rehabilitation of the accused. Under Section 16 of the Canadian Criminal Code, an individual may be found not criminally responsible if at the time of the offense they were suffering from a mental disorder that rendered them incapable of appreciating the nature or wrongfulness of their actions. This legal designation acknowledges that while the individual committed the act, they lacked the mental capacity to be held criminally responsible. It's tough with those. I have a hard time buying those. Not buying, that's not the right word. I have a really hard time
just with them.
With the like psychosexual disorders, I guess.
Yeah.
In particular, wrapping my brain around those and getting the empathy for those.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah.
Because
it's such a weird gray area.
It is a gray area because wherein sexuality is not a choice.
Yes.
It's.
No, absolutely. Just the combination with mental illness. I don't know. That's such a difficult area that I certainly don't know enough about,
right?
Or enough examples or cases. I feel like you would want to hear just a lot of.
We need more precedent.
But
okay.
You don't want people being. You don't want more people to be hurt in the process of figuring out this information.
Exactly. But I also, again, I'm going to stand by my words that I said on an earlier episode, which was that I don't think we've ever truly given rehabilitation a chance in this country.
Right.
Like actual rehabilitation where we're like actually trying to make people better and not just like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Yeah.
Okay, so following a not criminally responsible verdict, the individual is typically referred to a provincial or territorial review board, such as the Ontario Review Board.
Classic.
Which determines the appropriate disposition. This could include detention in a secure psychiatric facility, conditional discharge, or absolute discharge, depending on the assessed risk to public safety. Individuals found not criminally responsible, like Christian Magee, are not sentenced in the traditional sense, but are subject to an ongoing assessments by review boards. These boards conduct regular evaluations to determine if the individual continues to pose a significant threat to public safety. If deemed no longer dangerous, the individual may be granted a conditional or absolute discharge. The process emphasizes both the protection of society and the rights of the individual, ensuring that any decision to release is based on thorough risk assessment and evidence of rehabilitation. But there was like, I can't remember which episode we did, but remember there was that one guy who got out and then went and killed someone on like when he got a day pass from the psychiatric hospital?
Oh.
I can't remember what case that was.
Yeah, I don't know if
anybody remembers that what case that was, let me know. Okay, so we're going to chat a little bit about risk assessment, rehabilitation, and public safety and how it all sort of ties together. So risk assessments for the not criminally responsible, individuals involve multidisciplinary evaluations considering factors such as the nature of the original offense, the individual's mental health status, response to treatment, and the behavior within the facility. These assessments inform decisions regarding the individual's management and potential reintegration into the community. It's like, what if Christian Magee was, I don't know, rehabilitation? Because I really want to err on the side of caution on saying that anybody is pretending with a mental disorder. I just don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Rehabilitation programs focus on addressing the underlying mental health issues, promoting recovery and reducing the risk of reoffending. Public safety remains a paramount concern, with any steps toward reintegration carefully planned and monitored. I don't think they're carefully planned and monitored enough, given the one guy that killed that one guy that one time in that one case that I can't remember.
Yeah, well, given all that, of course.
And while we're on the subject, let's talk about the evolution of mental health care.
Great.
From the 1970s versus today.
Yay.
And this could be a whole topic on its own, but I've just kept it short. In the 1970s, Canada's mental health care system was characterized by institutionalization, with large psychiatric hospitals housing individuals with mental illnesses. This would have been people on the spectrum as well. Over time, there was a shift towards deinstitutionalization and the development of community-based mental health services. And for those of you who don't know, institutionalization just means ship them off to a big old place for somebody else to take care of them.
Yeah.
When really it shows there's a lot of science saying that the best thing for depression and anxiety is to be in community.
Yeah.
This transition aimed to provide more humane and effective care, but also presented challenges such as ensuring adequate support and resources in the community. Today, the mental health care system in Canada continues to evolve, with ongoing efforts to balance the needs of individuals with mental illnesses and the safety of the broader community. The management of the not criminally responsible cases reflects this balance, emphasizing both treatment and risk management. Christian Magee's case underscores the complexities involved in addressing severe mental illness within the criminal justice system. It highlights the importance of robust legal frameworks, comprehensive mental health care, and vigilant oversight to protect both individual rights and the public safety. That is tough.
I wish there was a little bit more
On his mental illness?
Yeah.
Me too.
But
there's not. Damn privacy.
Dang privacy.
Dang privacy.
Because it's hard for us to even form a judgment on whether we think it was a valid diagnosis or not.
Yeah, I have no idea if it was valid or.
We just know what he did.
We just know he raped and stabbed and mutilated
which I think is
women,
crazy.
3 of them, and then sexually assaulted 2 more, and then got. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like
you know
that
what
is
I
crazy.
Do? What was that? What was I saying? The pseudo psychosexual disorders.
Yeah.
I want to know more about them. Psychosexual disorders are sexual problems with psychological origins distinct from physical causes. They are often categorized as sexual dysfunctions, paraphilias, and gender identity disorders. These disorders can significantly impact an individual's sexual life and well-being, potentially leading to distress, relationship problems, and difficulty enjoying sexual activity. These types of sexual disorders are the types of there are types of psychosexual disorders. So there's sexual dysfunctions. These involve problems with sexual desire, arousal, orgasm, or pain during sexual activity. Examples include hypoactive sexual desire disorder, persistent lack of sexual interest or desire, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, anorgasmia, the inability to achieve an orgasm, and vaginismus, involuntary muscle spasms in the vaginal area that prevent penetration.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, is this a health podcast now?
Yes. Orgasmia sounds like a place. It sounds like the opposite of what it is.
Orgasmia. There are also the other type of psychosexual disorder is paraphilia. These involve atypical sexual interests or behaviors, often involving non-consensual or harmful acts. So pedophilia, incest, and sexual sadism.
Okay.
This
podcast is so heavy.
I don't want to get more into that.
Let's not.
I'm good on that.
Let's go somewhere else.
Let's go somewhere else.
We just saw the Minecraft movie.
We did. Christian Magee was infamously known as the Mad Slasher. He left an indelible mark on Ontario's history through his brutal crimes in the mid-1970s.
Thank God didn't live in London.
Hey, right? His actions not only devastated the immediate communities of Strathroy and Mount Bridges, but also sparked broader discussions about public safety, the nature of evil in seemingly tranquil settings, and the complexities of the criminal justice system when addressing mental illness. It had an impact on Ontario's sense of safety. The revelation that a serial killer operated within small-town Ontario shattered the illusion of the safety that many residents had. Communities that once felt insulated from such horrors were forced to confront the reality that violent crime could occur anywhere, regardless of the town's size or perceived serenity. It also highlighted hidden dangers in small towns.
Yeah. Small town girl.
Small towns. Magee's crimes highlighted the unsettling truth that small towns are not immune to heinous acts. The familiarity among residents, which often fosters a sense of security, can also mask underlying threats. This case serves as a grim reminder that danger can lurk in any community regardless of its size or cohesion. Magee's trial, resulting in a verdict of not guilty by reason of insanity, ignited debates about the intersection of mental health and justice. Many grappled with the notion that someone who committed such atrocities could avoid traditional incarceration due to mental illness. This case underscored the challenges in balancing compassion for mental health issues with the public's demand for accountability and safety. Yeah. And there's some unresolved questions because there could be potential additional victims. While Magee was convicted for specific crimes, questions linger about the full extent of his actions. Given the number of unsolved cases in the region during that period, some speculate that there may be additional victims who were never linked to him.
Yeah.
The possibility that other crimes remain unaccounted for continues to haunt the affected communities and fuels ongoing investigations.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right?
They're like cold cases, essentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Christian Magee's legacy is a complex tapestry of tragedy, fear, and ongoing discourse. His crimes not only devastated individual lives, but also prompted a reevaluation of community safety, the handling of mental illness in the legal system, and the recognition that evil can reside in the most unexpected places. Yeah.
Wow.
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 Wow. You want to play that current case theme music?
I'd love to. That's a good theme.
That is a good theme. Okay, this current case segment, it's about a Vancouver stabbing incident.
No.
In December 2024, a man in downtown Vancouver stole a knife and alcohol from a restaurant before attacking individuals inside a 7-Eleven store. Canadian police responded swiftly, and the suspect was shot and killed at the scene. This chaotic event left 2 people injured and raised concerns about public safety and mental health support in urban areas.
Yeah. When was this?
December 2024.
2024.
December, yeah. So it just happened.
And they were in a restaurant.
Yeah. So
Must
here's
have been some bad
here's the sequence of events.
Okay.
The initial theft happened. The suspect, an adult male, stole alcohol and a knife from a downtown restaurant.
Okay.
He reportedly walked out of the establishment with the items, and it is believed that the knife was used later in the attack. Believed that the knife used later in the attack was taken from this location.
Okay.
Then he entered into 7-Eleven. The man entered a 7-Eleven convenience store in the area shortly afterward, and inside the store he began acting erratically and attacked 2 individuals with the knife.
Oh my God.
2 victims were stabbed and sustained serious injuries. Emergency medical services were dispatched quickly, and both victims were transported to the hospital. As of the last update, their conditions were stable. Here's how the police responded. They had rapid deployment. Vancouver police received multiple 911 calls reporting the disturbance and stabbings. Officers responded within minutes to the scene at 7-Eleven.
Wow.
And upon arrival, officers encountered the suspect still armed and inside the convenience store. A confrontation occurred between the suspect and the police. Officers issued commands to drop the weapon, which the suspect ignored. One or more officers then, you guessed it, discharged their firearms, striking the suspect. The suspect was pronounced dead at the scene, and his identity was not immediately released pending the next of kin notifications. The Independent Investigations Office of British Columbia was called in to review the police-involved shooting, as is protocol in such situations. The IIO will examine whether the use of lethal force was justified and in line with police policy. The police emphasized that their priority was to prevent further harm to the public during what they had described as a dangerous and rapidly evolving situation.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough.
I think if somebody has a knife and you have a gun, I mean, but I don't know.
There's an adage about that.
Yeah. The incident reignited conversations around urban safety and security in public spaces, mental health and addiction issues, particularly in high-density downtown areas like Vancouver's, and police use of force, especially in confined, high-risk environments. Now, there are obviously some thematic parallels between Christian Magee and that Vancouver stabbing, like the public acts of random violence. Christian Magee in the 1970s, he was responsible for those brutal stabbings. His attacks were largely random and committed in public spaces, often targeting individuals with no prior connection to him. He was nicknamed the Mad Slasher due to the frenzied and nature of the knife attacks, and his crimes created widespread public fear, especially as media coverage emphasized the randomness and brutality.
Yep.
And in the Vancouver stabbing, as we know, the perpetrator stole a knife and alcohol, went to 7-Eleven, stabbed 2 random victims. Like Magee, the suspect acted alone, used a knife, and targeted individuals at random in a public, high-traffic urban area. And the randomness of the act and its public setting caused alarm and renewed discussions on safety in public spaces. We know Magee had, so as well, mental health and instability is another parallel. We know Magee had a documented history of mental illness, and some reports suggested paranoid delusions and severe psychiatric issues.
Okay.
And Magee was institutionalized multiple times and considered unfit for rehabilitation by some professionals. His crimes raised early questions about how Canada's mental health and legal systems were equipped to deal with the violent individuals suffering from severe psychological disorders.
Yeah.
And the Vancouver suspect, while not publicly confirmed, the Vancouver suspect's behavior, erratic actions, public knife wielding, and disregard for commands has led many to speculate about mental health or substance-induced psychosis.
Yeah.
Authorities and media noted concerns about growing mental health crises in urban Canada, particularly in cities like Vancouver, where homelessness and addiction intersect with psychiatric instability. Once again, the event has prompted public debates about treatment, prevention, and intervention, the same issues that followed Magee's crimes 5 decades earlier. Also, the immediate police response and use of force. So in Magee's area, the response to violent offenders was often slow due to a lack of centralized databases and slower interagency communication, and Magee evaded capture for extended periods, particularly due to limited technology and public awareness. And eventually he was apprehended and tried, but even then the conversation centered more on punishment than prevention and on mental health rehabilitation. With the Vancouver suspect, the police responded within minutes of the 911 call. The suspect was confronted on site and fatally shot, which was not an option typically used during Magee's time. And the presence of body cameras, public scrutiny, and independent oversight shows a modern shift towards accountability, even when the threat is immediate.
Yeah. Interesting.
Another parallel we're going to draw is the media coverage and societal reaction. Magee's crimes were sensationalized, earning him a tabloid-worthy nickname, and the public experienced high anxiety, and media coverage sometimes blurred the lines between responsible reporting and fear-mongering.
Okay.
The focus was largely on the horror of the crimes and the madness of the perpetrator, with less nuance about systemic causes. And with the Vancouver stabbing, media reporting was fast, detailed, and more cautious with speculation. Public reaction still echoed the same fear of random violence, but the discourse also included mental health funding, law enforcement protocol, and systemic gaps.
Good.
The suspect was not dehumanized or turned into an infamous figure, showing a shift in narrative framing.
Yeah, you don't really hear about that so much anymore. Like the mad
whoever
decapitator.
Yeah.
The maritime snuggler.
The maritime murderer.
Yeah.
The maritime snuggler.
Yeah, but he snuggles them to death.
That's right. The last theme is victims and vulnerability. So with Magee, his victims were often isolated individuals attacked in brief moments of vulnerability, and his method, stabbing, was close range and intensely personal, maximizing fear and trauma. With the Vancouver dude, victims were similarly randomly targeted in a routine setting, a convenience store, underscoring how public spaces offer little protection against sudden violence. The weapon and style of attack bear chilling similarity to Magee's methods. And why do these parallels matter? They highlight persistent issues in how society deals with mental illness, public safety, and violence. They show how technology and policing have evolved, but human behavior, fear, and vulnerability remain constant. And these parallels help frame Magee's case not just as a historical horror story, but as part of a larger ongoing conversation about crime and care in Canada. So this is kind of an interesting dynamic we're adding into this episode. This won't be a frequent thing, but there were some elements that I had researched that Kyle and I didn't include when we were recording. So I'm just popping in sort of after the fact to include them, because I do feel that ultimately for the overall impact and takeaway from the episode, these details that I'm about to say do matter. So to wrap up the comparisons, or I should say parallels, to wrap up the parallels from Christian Magee's case in the Vancouver stabbing incident in December 2024, we're going to talk about mental health challenges, how they were then and how they are now. So with Christian Magee in the 1970s, he had a documented severe mental illness, including psychotic episodes and delusions. He spent time in psychiatric facilities, but was still able to commit multiple violent acts. In the 1970s, mental health care in Canada was undergoing deinstitutionalization, shifting people from large asylums to community-based settings. However, community services were vastly underfunded and ill-prepared to handle high-risk individuals like Magee. The stigma surrounding mental illness often prevented honest conversations about public safety and treatment needs. In the Vancouver 2024 stabbing, while the suspect's full mental health history hasn't been released, his erratic behavior, including stealing a knife and randomly stabbing at people, strongly suggests a mental health crisis or drug-induced psychosis. In modern Canada, mental illness intersects heavily with homelessness and addiction, particularly in urban cores like Vancouver's downtown east side. The public is now more aware, but structural problems remain: long wait lists, underfunded crisis care, and fragmented supports. This case once again raises the question: what preventative options exist when someone is spiraling in public? Urban safety and public fear. In the Magee era, there was historical anxiety. Christian Magee's attacks created widespread fear, especially because they seemed random, frenzied, and unstoppable. Canadian cities in the 70s were just beginning to deal with rising urban crime as rural migration, economic shifts, and societal upheaval created unease. Media outlets amplified the fear with sensational nicknames like the Mad Slasher, creating lasting moral panic. And contemporary urban safety in 2024. Today, urban areas are more densely populated and surveilled, but public violence still triggers intense fear. Random stabbings, especially those in everyday places like convenience stores, shatter the illusion of safety. There's more focus now on environmental design for safety, like increased lighting, security cameras, and better emergency response. However, perceived safety remains low when public mental health crises go unaddressed. The evolution of law enforcement tactics. In the 1970s, during the Magee era, we're going to discuss how the policing was. Police in Magee's time lacked many of the tools modern officers take for granted. There were no body cams, no coordinated national database for violent offenders, and slow interprovincial communication. Arrests were more reliant on eyewitness accounts, fingerprints, and confessions. Officers were trained primarily in containment and arrest with little guidance on mental health de-escalation. Public trust in police was higher in some ways, but accountability was far lower. And modern policing, specifically in 2024 in Vancouver. Today, officers respond faster thanks to 911 technology, location tracking, and dispatch coordination. Most urban forces have mental health crisis teams or use de-escalation training, though it varies widely by region. In this case, officers responded quickly, confronted the armed suspect, and used lethal force when commands were ignored. Body cams and independent oversight now mean all police-involved shootings are reviewed. Public demand for accountability and transparency has grown, but so has scrutiny when mental illness is involved. The question today isn't did they stop the threat, but also could this person have been helped earlier? Intersecting issues and lessons. Mental health and public policy. Both cases show a failure in early intervention. Whether in 1974 or 2024, the result is the same. When services fail, violence can erupt. Media framing. Magee was cast as a villainous figure, while today's suspect is more likely to be discussed within systemic and social contexts, even if details are sparse. Policing in a changing world. Officers today must balance rapid threat assessment, public optics, and policy-driven restraint, a far cry from the rough and ready approach of the 1970s. And public expectations. Citizens today demand more than just arrests. They want prevention, rehabilitation, and social investment, especially when victims and perpetrators alike are vulnerable people failed by multiple systems. And here's a reflection on recurring patterns and the need for systemic change. Violence like that committed by Christian Magee in the 1970s, or more recently in the Vancouver stabbing of 2024, is never truly random. It may appear chaotic or senseless in the moment, but when we pull back, we begin to see patterns emerge. Patterns that reflect not only on the individuals involved, but on the systems and environments that failed to intervene in time. We see mental illnesses left untreated, early warning signs ignored or dismissed, individuals spiraling, sometimes in full public view, until a breaking point is reached and the tragedy becomes unavoidable. And always, it's the most vulnerable who pay the price. The unsuspecting victims, their grieving families, the shaken communities, and yes, even the perpetrators, many of whom are in deep psychological crisis when they act. What connects Christian Magee to the Vancouver attacker isn't just the weapon or the setting. It's the sense of missed opportunities. Magee was a man long known to be mentally unwell, bouncing between institutions and society without meaningful support. The 2024 assailant had been visibly struggling, acting erratically, reportedly known to services, and yet there he was, walking into a store with a knife, creating another chapter in the long story of preventable horror. These aren't isolated tales, they're echoes, and unless we learn from them, they'll keep repeating. As a society, we need to shift the conversation from how quickly did the police respond to how early could this have been stopped. From reactive headlines to proactive support, accessible mental health care, and community-based systems that identify risk without criminalizing distress. Because the truth is, until we address the root causes, the fractures in our social safety nets, the stigmatization of mental illness, the gaping holes in crisis intervention, we will keep asking the same questions after every new tragedy, and we will keep mourning the lives that could have been spared. In telling these stories, we don't just remember the pain, we push for change. And that brings us to the end of this twisted tale. The crimes of Christian Magee, the so-called Mad Slasher, are a chilling reminder of how danger can slip between the cracks, how mental health, violence, and public safety collide in ways that still echo today.
We always hope these stories don't just disturb you, they make you think about what's changed and what still needs to. If you or someone you know is struggling, there's no shame in reaching out. We'll drop some resources in the show notes.
And don't forget, we want to hear what you think. Head over to Instagram and let us know your thoughts, theories, or what you remember about this case. You can find us at Canadian Creepies, and you can send us an email at CanadianCreepiesPodcast@gmail.com.
And if you liked what you heard, or even if you're deeply unsettled but still intrigued, leave us a review, give us a follow, or share with us that one weird or share us with that one weird friend who's way too into true crime.
We'll be back next week with another dose of Canadian weirdness, and until then, stay creepy, Canada.
You're my one weird friend that I'd share it with.
Me or Richard?
Both.
Thank you to Kyle McDonald for editing and composing our theme song.